Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 284, and this show where we review all the comics I read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week. This week I had kind of a smaller haul. I only had 13 books. Next week I have a bigger haul, and I have about 20-something books. I think about 20. But let's get started. Number 13 for me was Amber Blake, issue 1, and that's from IDW Comics. It seemed like a cool espionage book, but I didn't really get into it very well here with this premiere issue. First of all, the artwork felt very static to me. The angling of characters felt weird. I didn't really love the inking either. Felt very dark in places where it felt like it didn't need to be. And then story-wise, I just couldn't get into this character. There was nothing that really sucked me in. There was just a lot of explaining, a lot of things being thrown at you, and you didn't really feel an attachment at all, especially to the characters here. So for me, I gave this 2 stars, and that is number 13. Moving on to number 12, which is Deathstroke, issue 42. As you guys know, I just haven't been loving this series. This is a crossover for Teen Titans, though, and I've been feeling like it's okay, that series. I know a lot of my frontline friends love Teen Titans, but it's kind of a middle ground book for me. But I also jumped into the series a little later than they did. But yeah, this is a crossover for both series, and this focuses a bit more on what's been going on in Deathstroke, and I've been reading Deathstroke since issue 1, so I wasn't lost. But for the people who just read Teen Titans, you might be a little lost in the beginning, but then it actually does go back to what the crossover was about, especially between Robin and Deathstroke. But yeah, I just wasn't really feeling this one. I'm just kind of tired of this creative team in a way, because it's been 42 issues. I don't know how much more fresh story they have to tell, and I'm kind of seeing the fatigue here, at least as a reader. So I gave this 2.5 stars. It was an okay issue, and again, kind of ready for a new creative team for this one. Alright, moving on to number 11. And number 11 for me was Frozen Reunion Road issue 2. This has been an okay miniseries, same as the last. The last one was kind of forgettable, but I like Disney, I like Frozen, so I want to see what they were doing with this series. And I guess this was a little bit better that we get to see Elsa connect to this girl. Also feels like an outsider, so I enjoyed that aspect, connecting those themes. But Elsa and Anna being totally separated wasn't fun. There wasn't a lot of great character dynamics because they were separated. And I just don't really care about the plot at all, because obviously they can't really do much because they can't reveal anything about the sequel, and these writers probably don't know anything that's going to happen in the sequel. So there's not a lot of wiggle room of where you can go with these characters and how much you can develop these characters, which makes these miniseries kind of fillerish and unentertaining. And a big thing is that this is an all ages comic, and it's a very wordy comic, and for kids I don't know if they're gonna really be interested in all this dialogue. So I'm gonna give Frozen issue 2 3 stars. Not a bad issue. Again, I liked her connection with the kid, but still also kind of forgettable, and if you're not like a huge Frozen fan, it's not a must buy. Alright, moving on to number 10. Which is Age of X-Men, Prisoner X issue 2. This is one of the better miniseries because it is doing something different than the other titles, or at least focusing on a different section of this world, which is the prison. And we get to see Bishop connecting to these characters and them knowing that something is wrong, and he needs to figure out who sent him this letter from the last issue. And it's slow. It's definitely a slow burn, and I'm very tired of this event already, and I don't know where it's going, but like I said, at least it's a bit more of a unique twist on this tiresome premise. And also the artwork is kind of plain here as well, but there's some good character moments between Bishop and some of the other X-Men that might make this worth picking up. But honestly, I just got this issue because I really didn't have a lot of books this week, so I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I kind of liked issue 1, and I love Gabby, so I'll pick up this issue. And Gabby was hardly in the issue, so I think there's about 2 more issues of this. We'll see if I get the next one or not, but yeah, just getting tired of this event already. So giving this 3 stars, and that is number 10. Alright, moving on to number 9, which is Champions, issue 4. This is also kind of a middle ground book for me. Nothing too spectacular, but not a bad book by any means either. I do like when this book focuses on the main team, though, and it hasn't done that in a while since we've gotten into this new Champions volume, even though it's the same creative team. But I do like some of the stories going on. Sam going up against this assassin and him hopefully going on the journey of finding his helmet again. And so he's gone. And then we have this stuff with Miles, the guilt of teaming up with Mephisto and him having to make that deal and having this innocent person die because of this deal. So yeah, and now Miss Marvel finds out about this, and there's a lot of angst because of it. And that definitely was good, because that's something we were leading up to. I don't really care about the other characters though, and that's kind of been the big problem for me with Champions, is that we have so much panel time with random superheroes that you only get a panel with, then you get another random superhero, and I'd rather just focus on our actual team. It makes it too spread thin, and you don't get enough character moments with the characters you are buying this book for. So I gave this 3 stars. Artwork is pretty plain. It's okay. But there is some good story here, and I still like Champions, but again, it's just one of those middle ground books that I wish was on my top 5, because I like a lot of these characters, and it's a good team. It just hasn't had a really great plot yet, at least for this volume. I did like the last volume, though, for the last arc for the last volume. So, like I said, gave that 3 stars, and that is number 9. Alright, moving on to number 8, a book I was really excited for, so kind of upset that it landed in the middle, and I gave it 3 stars, and that is Spider-Man and Miss Marvel issue 1. Yeah, that's weird, right? When I picked it up, I'm like, wait, is there something wrong with my comic? But it's one of those books where you have to flip it over to get the rest of the story. A book that I always remember, and the only one that, honestly, I feel like was good that did this flippy thing was that, was that Jeff Lemire book? I don't even remember the name of it anymore, but the first issue, the premiere issue, you had to flip it over to get the rest of the story, and I honestly really liked that book, even though the name escapes me, and it was a couple of years ago. It was an Image book, and like I said, I remember it was a Jeff Lemire book. But anyways, and I think he drew it too, so that might help you guys if you're wondering what book I'm talking about. But that was the only time I feel like it did it well. Here, I feel like there's a lot of story missing because they had to go with this weird gimmick, and we get to see what's going on with Miss Marvel and Spider-Man. This is called Marvel Team Up. So we get to see Spider-Man and Miss Marvel team up. And Miss Marvel is going on a school trip, going to the same place that Peter Parker has to give some sort of speech, and they kind of make an excuse. Yes, he shouldn't probably be giving this speech, but he is. And I like the separate stories, but they're all just kind of a go through the motions type story. Nothing that really stood out to me. But I love these 2 characters, and it's nice to see them team up, but you really don't get to see them team up much. It's all the build up to get to this weird place where they all have to have the same dialogue. So I thought the gimmick kind of took away from the story. The artwork's really good, though. Really enjoyed the art. And again, not a bad story, especially because I like these characters. If you do not like Miss Marvel and Spider-Man, you shouldn't pick it up. It's not going to make you a fan of these characters, but I love these characters. These are 2 of my favorite Marvel characters. So I'm obviously going to pick up the next issue. I just feel like it kind of lost itself because of that gimmick. So I'm going to give this 3 stars, both sides, 3 stars. So that's number 8, I believe. No, yeah, that was number 8. So moving on to number 7. This is a bit higher than it has been, or maybe it's in the same place, but I enjoyed this issue more than I thought I would, and that is Young Justice issue 4. And the reason I say I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, not because I hate this book. I do like this book, and it's definitely one that I get excited for because I love this team. Some of my favorite DC characters are here. Pretty much all my favorite DC characters, especially teen characters, are here. I love Connor. I love Cassie. I love Tim. Those are my top 3. And this is my Teen Titans, so of course that I like this book, but I don't love Bendis' execution for the book right now, but I do like the characters. But anyways, the reason why I was hesitant is because this had nothing to do with other characters we love. It had to do with this new Amethyst character, and surprisingly, I liked her. Really could care less about her world, but I liked her personality and her kind of being this rebel princess, kind of like this, I wouldn't say Princess Leia type, but I do like that she was a rebel type character. And Artwork, as always, is really solid. I've enjoyed it. I think it fits the book very well. Very excited for Krasinska to be on the next issue for Tim and Stephanie's story, though. Very excited for that. But yeah, I enjoyed Amy. I will say some of the storytelling was very jumpy, though. I didn't really follow the timeline as well as I feel like I could have. And also, they do, like, throw a lot of new characters to you, and you don't really know everyone's relationship. Like, there's this wedding going on, and you're like, well, who's she? And then you see that they end up talking later in the issue, and I'm like, okay, I guess this is a really good friend, or maybe they're together. I don't know, because we really don't know anything about these characters, and you're kind of just thrown into their relationship and into these circumstances. So, I kind of wish that was explained a little bit better, especially if we don't know if we'll get another centric issue with her. But I liked we got some of the new characters to shine a bit more. Like, even Jenna Hex, she had a little bit more in this issue, talking about her relationship with Jonah. Teen Lantern still, like, just doesn't talk in this book, so I don't know what they're doing with that character. And she's not even a teen. I think she's, like, 9 or something, so I still don't know what that character's up to. But, the moment I really enjoyed also was just Cassie, Tim, Bart, and Superboy coming back together, hugging, and literally taking a moment to hug. So, we didn't get a lot from them, but it's cool that the team is officially back together. So, I gave it 3.5 stars. Definitely not the perfect execution for the book, but I definitely like some of the plot threads that were weaved here, more than I did the Superboy issue. So, I'm going to give that 3.5 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6. And this is higher than I thought it would be, because I haven't been loving this book, but Betty and Veronica, issue 4. I thought this was a really solid issue, and did stuff that I enjoy about Betty and Veronica's relationship is that they are still friends. They are frenemies in a way, but they still truly care about each other, and we really get to see that. There's definitely some unnecessary drama, but I like in the end where Archie thinks it's all about him, and they just laugh. It's like, it has nothing to do with you. We weren't even thinking about you. So I thought that was a cute moment, and yes, the whole, oh, bring Reggie to prom, bring Moose to prom, really brought some drama that I could care less about, but the drama I did like was about them not wanting to go to the same college and what that meant for their friendship, and them truly trying to do the right thing out of each other. So I thought that was really cool. Artwork is extremely plain, though. It's okay, but it's just very plain for this type of book. So I don't love the artwork. But overall, I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. I thought it was a bit of an improvement from what we've been getting, and it gets me excited to see what this final chapter will be about and what decisions they will make as they head to graduation. Alright, moving on to number 5, which is a series I did an in-depth review on already, so I won't talk too much about it, and that is War of the Realms, issue 1, and I got the Ryan Ottley Spider-Man cover, of course. That's the only cover I got, though. I did get 2 covers of Spider-Gwen, though. Only going to show 1 here, though. I was going to say it's the one I didn't show already, but I did not show a cover in my War of the Realms review. But anyways, go check out that review as well. But I like this. It's in my top 5. I thought it was a pretty good part 1 to the book. Nothing that, oh my god, wowed me, but I think it had some really good setup. I want to see where all these hammers go. I'm fully invested in Jane Foster's story, so I want to see if she gets a hammer. The artwork is beautiful. I love this creative team, and I think they really hit it out of the ballpark in a way for this to be their last chapter, and especially for an event, because I'm not a huge fan of Marvel events, and I haven't really liked a Marvel event in a really long time, and I've read pretty much all of them, you know, in the last decade. Maybe I've skipped 1 or 2, but I've read pretty much all of them and read a lot of the tie-ins, and I just haven't liked them, usually. And a lot of times if I like the first issue, it'll just keep faltering until you get to that last issue. You're like, when's this over? So I'm hoping War of the Realms will be different, because there was a good setup to it. It's a pretty short narrative. It's only 6 issues, but there was a ton of tie-ins, so I'm very worried about that. But I liked the first issue, and I really liked the premise of you know, our Midgard heroes getting hammers. That should be pretty cool to fight this war. So I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. Again, if you want a little bit more in-depth review for that, go check out my in-depth review that I did. Alright, moving on to number 4, and that is The Amazing Spider-Man, issue 18.HU, which really surprised me, because I was not excited for this book at all, and that has nothing to do with Hunted. I've been really enjoying Hunted. I love Nick Spencer's run on Spider-Man so far, but I could care less about Gibbon as a villain or as a character, so I'm like, a whole issue with him? And I was pleasantly surprised. Even with the beginning of the issue, I'm like, all right, like, we're learning more about Gibbon. That's cool, I guess. Do I need this? But then you really get to the end, and you understand why Nick Spencer is telling this story. And that was my biggest worry, is this going to be a filler? And so far, 2 for 2. Black Cat wasn't a filler, and this wasn't a filler. But in a way, do you need to read these point books? No, it doesn't progress the plot, but they're very good character narratives, which is exactly what a tie-in should do when it doesn't have to do with the main book. So I really enjoyed that aspect. And the reason why it's a good tie-in is because we get to see Gibbon die in the end. It shows that there is consequences. And yes, is Gibbon a big villain or big hero for Spider-Man? No, obviously not. But by the end of the story, you feel for him. You feel bad for him. And you really, especially with the narration that Nick Spencer has here, you care for him. So I enjoyed this issue. The artwork is okay for the book, but I was pleasantly surprised by this because I didn't think I would really care about this character or this issue, but I think it's a good tie-in. I enjoyed it. So I'm going to give this 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3. Number 3 for me this week is Paper Girls, issue 27. Love this cover. Big KJ fan, so really like that. And overall, it's a really solid issue. I really like how the themes are very much coming together here, and the different parts we get to see here. So KJ meets up with one of the future kids, and it's pretty much about her just wanting to get back to Mac, which was really cute. And I really like their dynamic between each other, and I mean, you can't go wrong with the Beatles reference. So, Hey Jude was definitely great. I want to show you that panel. Don't make it bad. I love that. As a Beatles fan, really enjoyed that. And knowing Brian K. Vaughan's work and knowing that he's definitely injected the Beatles more than once, I love seeing that. And I'm a huge fan of his work as well. So it's like a, you know, it's a double hitter, I guess, for me. That's not the word to use, but I'm going to use it anyways. So I liked the KJ stuff. It didn't have as much to do with the themes, but definitely more about the character work, which I've enjoyed. And like I said, KJ's my favorite character of the series. And then we have Mac, who also, I really liked her story, and I think it mixed the themes a little bit more, where we get to see, and the character work, where we get to see Dr. Brinstein, someone with a B, Bronstein? Forget her name, but I know it starts with a B. The doctor that we saw in the third arc, she's dying as well, and Mac doesn't know how to deal with that. But at the same time, she just wants to get back to her friends. She doesn't have a lot of time to live, and she wants to live it. And that's what the doctor says as well. It's just like, it doesn't matter how much time we have, it just matters what we do with that time. And the reason why it kind of gets us into the theme of the book a bit more is because we get to see technology used once again with the Walkman and kind of nostalgic technology, and obviously older technology, but it proves a point of the tape, of how the doctor compared the tape to time travel and how you can't keep overwriting the tape or else it's just going to be broken. And I enjoyed that, especially to the more nostalgic aspects of the book. So that is another theme that's hit. And then we get to see Tiffany. And this is definitely the deeper aspect of the book, and it gets a little confusing. Even for me, I thought some of the clone stuff, I'm like, okay, so how did they get cloned? What's going on? Do we have enough time to explain about these clones? But it shows how smart Tiffany is, and this really answers a lot of questions of why Aaron was getting these dreams and why they were the answers to anything and all the symbolism towards it. So Tiffany is the person who's going to be connecting to Aaron, giving her the dreams to say, hey, this is where you need to go. So I thought that was pretty cool. And one thing that was another huge answer is, again, it connects technology. We even get to see the Apple product again. But it has to do with communication and how pretty much says, hey, if we stopped yelling at each other and disagreeing with each other and actually communicated with each other as real people, then we would actually be able to have peace on this world. And we get to see that. So using communication and technology for a good reason. The positive stuff of technology. So I thought that was really interesting. And that's the story we get to see with Tiffany. And then we get to see Erin in the end here, where she's, again, just trying to find her friends, and instead, she ends up facing the villain. So we're going to get our final showdown with the next issue, I guess. We're going to at least start up with that. And yeah, it was a pretty solid issue. Again, it digs a little bit deeper into the themes that we've been getting throughout this whole series, which is how we feel about nostalgia, obviously what it means to come of age, and technology and communication, how technology has affected our relationships with people, especially now we're seeing this through childhood relationships and what that means. So I think it touched upon all that stuff in this issue and in a solid way. Obviously, they had to fit all the characters here, so you only get a little glimpse of everybody, which is not, you know, a little disappointing because you just start the story and like, whoa, I want to see more from Mac. Whoa, I want to see more from KJ. But it shows it's a good story because you want to see more. But we also don't have a lot of issues left. So I thought it was a very solid issue, and artwork as always is mind-blowing from Cliff Chiang. I especially love this weird out of world Eren transferring into time and finding Japu, so that was pretty cool. So yeah, that's my in-depth review of Paper Girls, and I gave that 4 stars. Again, I can't believe it's almost over. It's gonna be July, and then one of my favorite series of all time ends. So that's number 3. Moving on to number 2, which is Ghost Spider-Gwen, issue 7. Really solid issue. I've been loving this new run on Spider-Gwen, and we really get to hit some great character moments. So Gwen goes on a date with Harry, and you know she wants to have a good date. Obviously, she's excited. This is her friend, so they're already comfortable with each other. And Harry takes Gwen to this really fancy place. And, you know, for a second she's happy, and then everyone starts staring at her. She's like, oh God, I remember, I can't have a normal life. Because everyone knows I'm Spider-Gwen. And, you know, she doesn't hate that everyone knows, but she knows this is now part of her responsibility, and she can't be Gwen Stacy in a way. So she leaves Harry and says, hey, Harry, I need a break for a second. And then she goes off saving people using her website to actually do Heroes for Hire. And then, you know, actual Spider-Woman work happens, and she has to save these 2 people. And this is a moment where the police actually calls her from the website. And Gwen's like, no, like, I'm not going to accept money for being a superhero. So we get to see the answers of what line she'll cross to get money, which is interesting. And then we also get some moments with Harry and Gwen, more as friends in the middle. Harry just worrying about Gwen, saying, hey, you're getting these headaches. What does this mean? And she's still getting these headaches. So what does this mean? We'll have to see. But Gwen is also interested, and she asks Harry for help, and she's going to talk to Dr. Elsa Brock. So obviously, if you got Venom problems, you're going to ask a Brock. So that's going to be interesting. And then the next issue, we also got a big gig for the Mary Jane, so very excited for that, and what that'll mean for Gwen's friends, because the last issue we know the villains have been targeting Gwen and want to hit everybody except Captain Stacy, who's like, alright, Captain Stacy can protect himself, and this probably won't be good for us. Let's attack, like, MJ and probably Harry, so we're gonna see how that works out in the next issue. But yeah, really solid stuff. I love the character work that's been done here. I think there's some really good plot progression as well, again with the Brock storyline moving, the villains kind of being hidden here, but still remembered, especially as we're gonna get into the next issue. So I liked it, and I love the artwork as well. It's one of the artists that worked on Miss Marvel, and I think that style converts really well here, and I believe Ian Herring does the coloring, yeah, and that was the colors for Miss Marvel as well. So, really solid look, and I enjoyed this issue. So, Ghost Spider, issue 7, gets 4 stars. If you're not reading Spider-Gwen, do yourself a favor and pick it up, because it's still awesome, even with a new creative team. And I think it's awesome in a whole different level, which is cool. It kind of brings its own voice to this book. That, obviously, the original creative team was on for a very long time. Moving on to number 1 for me, this is the 3rd time in a row this has been pick of the week, and that is Immortal Hulk issue 16. I've been really liking this series, and, you know, I liked it before, where it's just like, oh, you know, I enjoy it, but it's kind of getting a little repetitive to me. But now that it has to do with the Hulk family, I am sold, and I'm loving it. And I really like this issue with Rick Jones narrating from his book, and I love the narration so much. It's Rick, you know, saying his heart and soul of how he feels about the Hulk, and comparing him, or really Bruce's relationship, to what a monster means. And this is all happening while new monsters are forming. So Rick, it looks like Rick is under this new transformation as he's dead, and the scientists that have been working on Hulk is also working on the Hulk family and working on Rick. So it's nice to have that overlay of the book while this is happening to Rick. And then now Bruce also has another identity, it looks like, as he was being attacked by that assassin from 2 issues ago. And we'll have to see what happens to the assassin, as he's actually doing some smart stuff, using the UV light to try to just get Bruce Banner and kill Bruce. Also trying to kill, I guess, all the other Hulks as well, but Dr. Samson as well. I always say Samson. I don't think it's Samson. Always say that. Whatever his name is, Dr. S. I always say Samson, it's not that. And maybe it is Samson, I don't know. Anyways, so the other character that is related to the Hulk, we get to see him hurt as well. So is he actually hurt because the UV light was going on? We'll have to see. And then also Betty. There's some interesting stuff going on with her, where she's this bird lady. So how's she feel about this? Betty keeps being referenced, but we're only seeing her in the shadows. Hopefully get a big issue with her as well. But we know she's alive, and we know she's a different type of monster, and that's what this issue is about, is seeing how we're getting different type of monsters other than just the Hulk that we know, and this is through the Hulk family. So I think that's so cool. And the artwork is just drop dead gorgeous and haunting, and it's just a really cool story. So I've been really enjoying it. So yeah, overall, yeah, it was Samson. Why did I not think it was Samson? I just saw his name. Anyways, I don't know why that sounded weird to me, but yeah, I really enjoyed this issue, and I think it progresses the plot really well, but it has some really great psychological story and just some good character beats for a lot of the Hulk family, that even if they're just shown for a panel, you get some really good movement for them, and Rick just being the voice of the issue, even though you don't physically see the present Rick that much in this issue. So overall, I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. It's just really become one of my favorite titles as of recently, and now I'm getting the hype of why people have been loving this title. So that's my pick of the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Definitely go follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Go check out my comic books like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her the Dancer. And of course, every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Frontline Live, where we discuss our favorite comics and comic book news. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Bye.